They say patience is a virtue. I learned it managing a golf club where millionaires throw tantrums over 3-foot putts. But nothing prepared me for the night my wife's friend stood up at our charity gala and thanked me for being clueless. One sentence from me froze the entire room. My name is Malcolm Bradford. I'm 44 years old, and I've been the director of Pinehurst Ridge Golf Club for the past 11 years. It's a good life, managing a private club where lawyers and doctors come to forget their stress for 18 holes. I know every member by name, every spouse, every kid who learned to swing a club on our driving range. I thought I knew my wife, too. Allison and I have been married for 8 years. She brought 2 kids into our marriage, William and Hannah, from her first husband, Scott. He'd been a mess back then, drinking himself through their marriage until she finally left. I stepped in when William was 12 and Hannah was 9. Became the father they needed. Taught William how to read a green, how to shake hands with confidence. Helped Hannah with her algebra homework. Drove her to volleyball practice every Tuesday and Thursday. They called me Dad within 6 months. The party was supposed to be a celebration. Pinehurst Ridge's annual fundraiser gala, black tie, 200 guests, champagne flowing under string lights on the main terrace. I'd organized it myself, every detail. Allison looked stunning that night in a navy dress that caught the light when she moved. I remember thinking how lucky I was. Kyle Harrison was there. He joined the club 2 years ago, some hotshot sales director who played off a 12-handicap and always had a story that went on too long. Allison had befriended him through the events committee. They worked together planning tournaments, charity auctions. He's just a friend, she told me more than once. Don't be jealous, Mal. I wasn't jealous. I was blind. The toast came after dinner, during the auction portion of the evening. Kyle stood up, glass raised, the practiced smile on his face. I want to recognize someone special tonight, he announced, voice carrying across the terrace. To Malcolm, our fearless club director, who somehow doesn't know his wife has been consulting with me privately for months now. The laughter started uncertain, like people weren't sure if it was a joke. Then it died completely. You could hear the fountain behind us, water trickling over stone. Someone's fork clinked against china. Allison's face went white. I didn't yell, didn't throw a punch. I just stood up slowly, set my glass down with care, and looked directly at Kyle. Thanks for confirming everything I needed, I said, voice level and cold. Then I turned to Allison. William knows. He showed me the screenshots 6 months ago. One move. That's all it took. The room went silent. My wife froze, her expression shifting from shock to horror to something that looked like understanding. She knew then that I'd been 10 steps ahead the whole time. I walked off that terrace with my dignity intact and never looked back. I didn't go home that night. Couldn't stomach the thought of sleeping under the same roof, where she'd probably rehearsed her excuses. Instead, I drove to the club, let myself into my office, and sat in the dark watching security footage I'd pulled weeks ago. Footage of Allison and Kyle in the parking lot after a committee meeting, standing too close, his hand on her lower back. Nothing explicit, but enough. Always enough if you know what you're looking for. My phone started ringing around midnight. Allison, 15 times. Then William called. Dad, where are you? His voice was tight with worry. I'm at the office, son. I'm fine. Mom's losing it. She's crying, saying it's all a misunderstanding. He paused, and I heard the anger underneath his words. I told her I gave you those screenshots. She tried to say I invaded her privacy. Can you believe that? I could. When people get caught, they rewrite the rules to make themselves the victim. William, listen to me. None of this is your fault. You did the right thing. I know. His voice firmed up. Hannah's freaking out, though. She doesn't understand what's happening. Mom won't tell her the truth. I'll talk to Hannah tomorrow. Get some sleep. Are you coming back? Not tonight. I hung up and stared at my desk, at the photo frame I turned face down 3 months ago. It was from our wedding day. Allison in white, me in a gray suit, William and Hannah standing between us. We looked like a real family. Maybe we were, for a while. But somewhere along the way, she decided I wasn't enough. The sun came up over the 18th hole, pink and gold spreading across the course. I'd always loved this view, the way morning dew made the fairways shimmer like glass. I made coffee in the clubhouse kitchen, checked my email. There was already one from my lawyer, sent at 6:30. Subject line, documents ready for review. I contacted him 2 months ago, right after William showed me everything. Screenshots of texts between Allison and Kyle, talking about meeting up, inside jokes, messages that crossed every line a married person shouldn't cross. Nothing physical that I could prove, but the emotional affair was clear as daylight. My lawyer had drafted a separation agreement, division of assets, custody arrangements, everything I needed to protect myself and the kids. The funny thing about being a golf club director is you learn patience. You watch members throw clubs after bad shots, storm off courses, lose their temper over a 3-foot putt. Then you watch the good players, the ones who take a breath, assess the lie, choose the right club, and execute. That's what I've been doing for 6 months. Assessing, planning, preparing. Allison thought she was clever, deleting texts, clearing her call history. She didn't know I'd added monitoring software to our phone plan after the first time I got suspicious. Legal, since I was the account holder. Everything she deleted I saw. Every call to Kyle, every message about their lunches and coffee meetings, I documented. Around 8, my assistant manager Luis arrived, found me sitting at my desk in last night's tuxedo. "Boss, you look like hell." He set a breakfast burrito on my desk. Words already spreading about last night. Members are talking. Let them talk. Kyle Harrison tried to call here this morning. Twice. I didn't put him through. Good. If he shows up, have security escort him off the property. He's banned from the club. Luis raises eyebrows. You can do that. I'm a director. Club bylaws give me discretion to revoke membership for conduct detrimental to the club's reputation. What he did last night qualifies. I opened my laptop, pulled up Kyle's member file, sent him a certified letter. Membership terminated, effective immediately. No refund on his annual dues. Luis grinned. Man, you don't mess around. Not anymore. My phone buzzed again. Allison. I let go to voicemail, watched the notification appear, listened to her message on speaker. Mal, please, we need to talk. I know how this looks, but you've got it all wrong. Kyle was just being stupid. It was a joke. There's nothing between us. Please come home. Hannah's asking for you. Please. Her voice fracture at the end, tears obvious. 6 months ago, that would have broken me. Now it just sounded like noise. I deleted the message and went back to work. 3 days after the gala, I sat across from my lawyer in his downtown office. Robert Hutchins had been practicing family law for 30 years, handled more divorces than I could count. He slid a folder across his mahogany desk, thick with documents. You've been thorough, he said, impressed. Most clients come to me emotional and unprepared. You've got bank statements, phone records, property titles, everything organized by date. I had 6 months to prepare, I replied. Once William showed me those screenshots, I knew this day was coming. Robert flipped through the prenuptial agreement Allison and I had signed 8 years ago. Back then, I'd owned the house outright, had investment from my years working in corporate hospitality before taking the club director position. The prenup protected my assets brought into the marriage. Everything acquired during the marriage would be split 50-50, unless one party violated the infidelity clause. This clause is solid, Robert said, tapping the page. If we can prove emotional infidelity, even without physical evidence, you keep everything. The house, the investment accounts, the Volvo that's titled in your name. What about the kids? William's 20, so custody isn't an issue. Hannah's 17. In North Carolina, at her age, the judge will heavily consider her preference on living arrangements. I nodded, already knowing Hannah would choose me. She'd barely spoken to her mother since the party. Allison had tried explaining it away as a misunderstanding, but Hannah wasn't stupid. She'd seen her mother's face when I mentioned the screenshots. There's something else, Robert continued. The adoption petition you filed 4 months ago for the child from Texas. My chest tightened. Mia, 8 years old, brown eyes, gap-toothed smile in every photo the agency sent. I'd been writing to her for months, sending drawings and books, planning how we'd convert the guest room into her bedroom. The agency suspended the application when they learned about the separation, Robert said gently. State law requires stable family environment for out-of-state adoptions. Until your divorce is finalized and you can prove stable housing and income as a single parent, the petition's on hold. I sat back, feeling something twist in my gut. Mia had already been waiting 3 years in the foster system. Now she'd wait longer because Allison couldn't keep her marriage vows. How long until finalization? If she doesn't contest, 6 to 8 months. If she fights, could be a year, maybe longer. She'll contest, I said quietly. Not because she wants to stay married, but because her pride won't let her lose. Robert nodded, unsurprised. Then we prepare for battle. That afternoon, I drove to the house while Allison was at work. William had texted me that the coast was clear. I needed to pack clothes, documents, personal items. The plan was to stay at an extended stay hotel near the club until I found an apartment. Hannah was home, supposedly at school, but sitting in the kitchen with red eyes and a mug of tea. Dad. She stood up fast, came over and hugged me hard. Hey, baby girl. I held her, felt her shaking slightly. You okay? No. She pulled back, wiped her eyes. Mom keeps trying to talk to me, but I can't even look at her. She did this. She ruined everything. Hannah, listen to me. What happened between your mom and me, that's between adults. You don't have to choose sides. But I do choose. Her voice was firm, older than 17. I choose you. You're the one who showed up. You're the one who actually wanted to be here. Those words hit me harder than any golf ball to the ribs. I pulled her close again, kissed the top of her head. I'm getting an apartment, I said. 2 bedrooms. One for you, whenever you want it. I want it now. I want to move in with you. Let's wait until things settle legally. Okay? But I promise, you'll have a place with me. She nodded against my chest. What about Mia? So she knew. Of course she knew. We told both kids about the adoption plans, had them pick out stuffed animals to send her. On hold for now, but I'm not giving up on her. Good. Hannah stepped back, fierce determination in her eyes. She deserves a real family. And so do you. I packed 2 suitcases of clothes, grabbed my laptop, and important files from the home office. Before leaving, I stopped in the living room, looked at the family photos on the mantel. One from our wedding, another from Hannah's 16th birthday, William's high school graduation. All of them smiling. All of them lies built on a foundation that was already splitting. I left the photos where they were and walked out. Word spread fast in a community like ours. Pinehurst Ridge wasn't just a golf club. It was a social hub where everyone knew everyone's business. By the end of the week, my phone was full of messages. Some supportive, some fishing for gossip, some awkwardly pretending nothing had happened. The most unexpected call came from Scott Daniels. Malcolm, it's Scott. William gave me your number. Hope that's okay. I pulled into the hotel parking lot. Engine still running. Yeah, that's fine. I heard what happened to the gala. I'm sorry, man. Coming from him, Allison's ex-husband, the father who disappeared into addiction and left his kids behind, it felt strange. But Scott had been sober 5 years now. Remarried to a woman named Beth, working as a counselor at a rehab facility. William had reconnected with him 2 years ago, cautiously at first, then more openly. Thanks, I said carefully. Look, I know I don't have the right to say this, but you've been more of a father to my kids than I ever was. William talks about you all the time. The way you showed up, the way you actually gave a damn. That matters. My throat felt tight. They're good kids. Easy to show up for. No, they're good kids because you made them feel worth showing up for. He paused. I failed them. I failed Allison. Lost years I can't get back. But you gave them stability when I couldn't. Whatever happens with this divorce, those kids know who their real father is. After we hung up, I sat in the parking lot for a long time, processing that conversation. Scott Daniels, the ghost of Allison's past, had become a better man than I'd given him credit for. Meanwhile, I was living in a hotel room with 2 suitcases and a marriage that had imploded. The next blow came 3 days later. I was in my office reviewing membership applications when Luis knocked on the door, his expression grim. Boss, we got a problem. Allison's here, in the parking lot, with Kyle. I stood up, every muscle tensing. What? They're arguing. Loud. Members are noticing. I walked out to the main entrance, saw them by Kyle's Mercedes. Allison was gesturing wildly, mascara smudged, her voice carrying across the asphalt. Kyle had his hands up, defensive, backing away. You said it was just flirting. Allison shouted. You said it didn't mean anything. It didn't. Jesus, Allison, you're the one who kept texting me. Several members had stopped, pretending to check their golf bags while obviously listening. This was a disaster. I walked out, my presence stopping them both mid-sentence. Allison, you need to leave. Now. She turned to me, eyes wild. Mal, please, we need to talk. He lied to me. He made it seem like it was nothing, but now everyone thinks I'm some kind of... You made your choice, I said, voice level. Now live with it. Kyle stepped forward. Look, man, this got out of hand. I didn't mean for things to blow up like this. It was just... Save it. I turned to Luis, who'd followed me out. Call security. Get them both off the property. Mal, please. Allison grabbed my arm. I gently removed her hand. Step back. You're not a member here, Allison. You have no reason to be on club grounds. If you want to talk, go through my lawyer. Her face shifted from pleading to anger. You're really going to do this? Throw away 8 years over a misunderstanding. You threw them away the first time you texted him something you wouldn't show me. Security arrived. 2 guys I'd hire personally. They escorted both Allison and Kyle to their vehicles. Members watched, whispered. By tomorrow, everyone in town would know. I went back inside, closed my office door, and sat at my desk. My hands were shaking, adrenaline dumping through my system. I just humiliated my wife in public, banned her from a place she considered her second home. But I'd also drawn a line. No more negotiations, no more chances, no more pretending. The Volvo XC60 disappearing from the driveway was Allison's first real wake-up call. I'd had it towed to a secure lot on a Wednesday morning while she was at work. Legally mine, title in my name through the club's business lease program. She'd driven it for 3 years, thinking it was hers. Her lawyer called my lawyer within an hour. Your client is being unnecessarily vindictive, James Pritchard said, according to Robert. Taking her vehicle strands her without transportation. My client is reclaiming property that belongs to him, Robert replied. She can purchase her own vehicle. That same week, I discovered something interesting while reviewing our joint bank statements. The account showed regular transfers to an account I didn't recognize. Small amounts, $50 or $75 every week for the past 8 months. I called the bank, provided my identification as joint account holder, got the routing information. The transfers went to Kyle Harrison. I sat in my hotel room staring at the statements, doing the math. Nearly $2,500 over 8 months. Why was my wife sending money to a man who owned a luxury car dealership and lived in a $500,000 house? Robert filed a motion for a full financial disclosure the next day. If Allison was hiding assets or funneling marital funds somewhere inappropriate, the judge needed to know. The discovery hit Allison hard. Her lawyer called, requesting an emergency meeting. We met at Robert's office on a Friday afternoon. Allison sat across from me, James Pritchard beside her, looking more defeated than angry. The money was a loan, Allison said quietly. Kyle had cash flow problems last year. His dealership was struggling. I was trying to help. With our money, I said flatly. Without telling me. I knew you'd say no. You're right. I would have said no to giving our savings to the man you were having an emotional affair with. James interjected. There's no evidence of physical infidelity, Malcolm. These transfers, while inappropriate, don't constitute. Don't. I cut him off, my voice sharp. Don't insult my intelligence by pretending this was innocent. She was financially supporting another man while lying to her husband. That's betrayal, whether they slept together or not. Robert slid a document across the table. We're requesting full reimbursement of transferred funds, plus reallocation of retirement accounts per the prenuptial infidelity clause. Allison's face went pale. Mal, please. If you take everything, I'll have nothing. I can't afford an apartment on my salary alone. You should have thought about that before you chose Kyle over me. I didn't choose him. It was never like that. He was just someone who listened, who made me feel interesting again. You were always at the club, always working, always providing. I finished. Always making sure the bills were paid, the house was maintained, the kids had what they needed. That's what husbands do, Allison. We show up. We work. We don't get to check out because we're bored. She flinched at that, tears starting. I felt nothing. 6 months ago, those tears would have broken me. Now they were just water. The meeting ended with Robert presenting our terms. Full house ownership to me. Division of retirement account in my favor due to infidelity clause. Return of all transferred funds from Kyle Harrison. And shared custody of Hannah, with primary placement with me per Hannah's stated preference. This is excessive, James protested. This is consequence, Robert replied. Walking to my car afterward, I felt the weight of it. I wasn't being cruel for cruelty's sake. But I also wasn't going to let Allison walk away unscathed while I picked up the pieces alone. She'd made choices. Now she'd live with them. My phone buzzed. Text from Hannah. Mom came to school at lunch crying. Everyone's staring. Can you pick me up early? I texted back immediately. On my way. Driving to the school, I realized this was collateral damage I couldn't prevent. Hannah was old enough to understand what happened, but that didn't make it easier to watch her mother fall apart publicly. I pulled into the parking lot, found Hannah sitting on a bench outside the main office, backpack beside her. She got in the car without a word, stared straight ahead. You okay? I asked. She showed up crying about how you're taking everything, how she'll be homeless, how I need to come home and support her. Hannah's voice was tight with anger. In front of my friends, Dad. In front of everyone. I'm sorry, baby girl. Don't apologize. She did this. She's the one who messed up. Hannah turned to me, eyes fierce. I told her I'm staying with you, that she needs to figure out her own life instead of trying to guilt-trip me into fixing it. At 17, my stepdaughter had more backbone than most adults. I reached over, squeezed her hand. Proud of you, Hannah. Can we get ice cream? Absolutely. We drove to the local parlor, ordered ridiculous sundaes we didn't need, and sat outside in the February cold pretending everything was normal. Sometimes that's all you can do. 3 weeks into living at the hotel, I got an invitation I'd forgotten about. The annual Pinehurst Ridge alumni dinner, honoring members who'd been with the club for 20-plus years. As director, I was expected to attend and give remarks. Normally, Allison would have come with me. This year, I went alone. The ballroom was packed, maybe 150 people in cocktail attire, networking and reminiscing. I shook hands, made small talk, avoided questions about Allison with practiced deflection. Then I saw her, Amanda Pierce. She stood near the bar, laughing at something one of the older members was saying, champagne flute in hand. Same auburn hair, same bright smile, but older now, lines around her eyes that somehow made her prettier. Amanda had been my girlfriend in college, the girl I'd almost proposed to before we graduated and life took us different directions. She'd moved to Charlotte for grad school. I'd taken a job in Raleigh. We'd promised to stay in touch and hadn't. That was 20 years ago. She saw me, and her expression shifted from surprise to something warm. She excused herself, walked over. Malcolm Bradford, I heard you were running this place now. Amanda Pierce. I smiled, genuinely smiled for the first time in weeks. What brings you back? My dad's getting the Lifetime Achievement Award tonight. Figure I should show up. She gestured to the crowd. Never thought I'd see you here, though. Last I heard, you were in corporate hospitality in Atlanta. That was a lifetime ago. Came back to North Carolina 8 years ago. Took this position. And got married, I heard. Wife here tonight. The question hung there, loaded with history and present complications. I decided on honesty. Separated. Going through a divorce, actually. Her expression softened with understanding, not pity. I'm sorry. That's hard. It is. But it's also necessary. I paused and asked, what about you? Divorced 3 years ago. No kids. Amicable split. He wanted to move to Seattle for work. I wanted to stay near family. We wanted different things. She shrugged, taking a sip of champagne. Life happens. We talked through dinner, catching up on 20 years in fragments between speeches and applause. She was a landscape architect now, worked on public park projects throughout the Carolinas, lived in Asheville, but visited her parents in Raleigh every month. She'd never remarried, dated occasionally, focused on her career. After the awards ceremony ended, we found ourselves on the terrace overlooking the 18th hole, the same terrace where everything had imploded at the gala 3 weeks ago. This is where it happened, I said quietly, where my marriage ended. You want to talk about it? I did, surprisingly. Told her the whole story, William's screenshots, the 6 months of planning, Kyle's toast, walking away. Amanda listened without judgment, just nodded occasionally. You handled it with more grace than most would, she said finally. Didn't feel graceful. Felt like survival. Sometimes they're the same thing. She looked out at the darkened course. For what it's worth, the Malcolm I knew in college would have made a scene. You've grown. Had to. When you're raising someone else's kids, you learn patience. We stood there in comfortable silence, the kind that only exists between people who once knew each other well. Finally, Amanda turned to me. I'm in town through the weekend. Would you want to have coffee? Just as old friends catching up, nothing more. I hesitated, but only for a second. I'd like that. Good. She smiled, pulled out her phone. Give me your number. We exchanged information, said good night with a hug that lasted just slightly longer than friendly. Driving back to the hotel, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Not for romance, not yet. But hope that life after Allison might hold something good. That the chapters ahead might be better than the ones behind. The envelope arrived at my hotel on a Thursday morning, forwarded from the club. Cream-colored paper, elegant script, no return address. I opened it standing by the window, coffee going cold on the desk. Scott Daniels and Beth Morrison cordially invite you to their wedding ceremony. I stared at it for a long moment. Scott, Allison's ex-husband, the man who'd abandoned William and Hannah to his addiction, was getting married, and he invited me. The ceremony was scheduled for April 15th, 2 months away. Location: a small chapel in Apex, reception at a vineyard. Handwritten at the bottom: Malcolm, it would mean the world if you'd stand with me. You showed my kids what a father should be. Scott. My phone rang. William. Dad, did you get it? The invitation? Yeah, just opened it. He asked me to be his best man. William's voice carried complicated emotions. I know it's weird, but he's really changed. Been sober 5 years. Works at the rehab center. Helps other people get clean. I want to support that. Then you should, I said without hesitation. You're not upset? Why would I be upset? Scott's your father, William. Biology matters. If he's doing the work to be better, that deserves recognition. William was quiet for a moment. Mom's losing it. She found out he invited you, and not her. Said it's a betrayal. Of course she did. In Allison's mind, Scott's redemption story was another thing taken from her. She'd moved on, rebuilt her life after his addiction destroyed their marriage. Now he was the one thriving while she was the one falling apart. What did you tell her? I asked. That it's Scott's wedding, Scott's choice. She didn't like that answer. I'm sure she didn't. I looked at the invitation again. Tell Scott I'll be there. Really? Really? And William? I'm proud of you for keeping an open mind about your dad. That takes courage. After we hung up, I texted Scott directly. Honored to stand with you. Congratulations on 5 years, and on Beth. His response came fast. Thank you, brother. Means everything. Brother. The word sat heavy. Scott and I had built something unexpected over the past 2 years. A mutual respect born from shared love for the same 2 kids. He'd failed them once, but was determined not to fail them again. That deserved acknowledgement. That afternoon, I had coffee with Amanda. We'd been meeting once a week since the alumni dinner. Careful to keep things platonic, just old friends reconnecting. But there was something there, an undercurrent neither of us addressed directly. Scott Daniels invited me to his wedding. I told her, stirring sugar into my coffee. Amanda raised her eyebrows. Your wife's ex-husband invited you to his wedding. Soon-to-be ex-wife. And yeah, apparently I'm standing up for him. That's either very mature or very weird. Maybe both. I showed her the invitation. He's been working hard to rebuild his relationship with William and Hannah. I respect that. You're a better man than most, Amanda said, studying me. Most guys would resent their wife's ex, especially in your situation. Resentment takes energy I don't have. Scott's trying. That's more than Allison's doing. Amanda set down her cup, her expression shifting to something more serious. Can I ask you something personal? Go ahead. Are you okay? Really okay? Because you seem remarkably calm for someone going through a divorce. I consider the question. Was I okay? Most days, yes. Some nights, lying in a hotel room that smelled like industrial cleaner, I felt the loss like a physical weight. But overall, I was moving forward. I'm okay because I saw it coming, I said finally. I had 6 months to grieve while pretending everything was fine. By the time it exploded, I'd already done the hard work of letting go. That's not easy. No, it's not. But it's better than the alternative. I met her eyes. What about you? Your divorce, was it amicable like you said? Or was that the polite version? She smiled slightly. Polite version. Truth is, he cheated. I found out, filed for divorce, took half of everything, and moved to Asheville to start over. Took me 2 years to stop being angry. I'm sorry. Don't be. Best thing that happened to me. Made me realize I'd rather be alone than with someone who doesn't value commitment. She paused. Is that what happened with Allison? She didn't value it. She valued the idea of it more than the reality. When reality got boring, she looked elsewhere. Her loss, Amanda said simply. We finished our coffee, walked out to the parking lot. Before getting in her car, Amanda turned to me. I'm going to say something, and you can ignore it if you want. But I think you should know that seeing you again, after all these years, it's reminded me why I fell for you in college. You're steady, Malcolm. You show up. That's rare. My heart did something complicated. Amanda, I'm not asking for anything. She interrupted gently. You're still married, still processing. I just wanted you to know that when you're ready, if you're interested, I'd like to see where this could go. No pressure, no expectations, just possibility. She got in her car and drove away, leaving me standing in the parking lot with an invitation to a wedding in one hand and the possibility of something new in the other. The preliminary hearing happened on a rainy Tuesday in March. Robert had prepared me thoroughly. Answer questions directly, stay calm, don't engage with Allison's emotional appeals. The judge would review our filed motions and make initial rulings on temporary custody and asset freezes. The courtroom was smaller than I expected, wood paneling and fluorescent lights, a handful of other cases waiting ahead of ours. Allison sat across the aisle with James Pritchard, refusing to look at me. She'd lost weight, her suit hanging loose on her frame. When our case was called, we approached the bench. Judge Patricia Whitmore was in her 60s, gray hair pulled back, reading glasses perched on her nose. She reviewed the file with practiced efficiency. Mr. Bradford, you're requesting primary custody of the minor child, Hannah Bradford, age 17? Yes, Your Honor. Hannah has expressed a clear preference to reside with me. She's currently staying with me and has been for the past month. Mrs. Bradford, what's your position? Allison's voice shook. Your Honor, my daughter is being influenced by her stepfather. I'm her mother. She belongs with me. Is Hannah in court today? She's in school, Your Honor, Robert answered. But we have a signed affidavit from her stating her preference. Judge Whitmore read the document, then looked at Allison. Mrs. Bradford, your daughter is 17 years old. In North Carolina, her preference carries significant weight. Unless you can show evidence of parental alienation or unsafe conditions, this court is inclined to honor her wishes. But he turned her against me. Allison's composure fractured. He poisoned her mind. Mrs. Bradford, control yourself, the judge said firmly. Present evidence or accept the temporary arrangement. James put a hand on Allison's arm, whispered something. She went quiet, tears streaming down her face. The judge continued. Temporary custody of Hannah Bradford is granted to Mr. Malcolm Bradford, pending final divorce hearing. Now, regarding marital assets, Robert presented our case. The prenuptial agreement, the infidelity clause, the documented transfers to Kyle Harrison. The judge listened, occasionally asking questions. Mrs. Bradford, you transferred approximately $2,500 from a joint account to Mr. Kyle Harrison over 8 months. What was the purpose? It was a loan, Your Honor. He was having financial difficulties. Did you inform your husband of these transfers? No, but did Mr. Harrison repay these loans? Allison hesitated. Not yet, but he will. Do you have a promissory note? Any documentation of loan terms? No, Your Honor. It was between friends. Judge Whitmore removed her glasses, looked at Allison with something like pity. Mrs. Bradford, transferring marital funds without spousal knowledge or consent is problematic. Combined with evidence of emotional infidelity, this court finds grounds to enforce the prenuptial infidelity clause. Your Honor, please. The marital home will remain in Mr. Bradford's sole possession. Retirement accounts will be divided 70-30 in Mr. Bradford's favor. Mrs. Bradford will return all transferred funds, or Mr. Harrison will be subject to a civil suit. Vehicle titled to Mr. Bradford remains his property. Allison was openly sobbing now. James tried to comfort her, but she pushed him away. Mrs. Bradford, the judge said, her tone softening slightly, you had choices. You made them. These are the consequences. Court is adjourned. Final hearing scheduled for June 15th. The gavel came down. Walking out of the courthouse, I felt no triumph, just exhaustion. Allison had self-destructed, and I'd been the one holding the match. Or maybe she'd been holding it all along, and I just stopped trying to blow it out. Robert clapped me on the shoulder. That went well. Judge Whitmore doesn't often rule this decisively in preliminary hearings. Doesn't feel like winning. That's because you're a decent person, Malcolm. But decent doesn't mean doormat. You protected yourself and your daughter. That's what fathers do. I drove back to the club, threw myself into work, reviewed membership applications, planned a spring tournament schedule, anything to avoid thinking about Allison's face in that courtroom. My phone buzzed around 4. Text from Amanda. How'd it go? Better than expected. Temporary custody granted. Assets mostly secured. Want company for dinner? No expectations, just friendly support. I hesitated, then typed. I'd like that. Luigi's at 7. See you there. Maybe Robert was right. Maybe protecting myself didn't make me cruel. Maybe it just made me smart enough to know when to walk away from fire. Scott's wedding was everything Allison's and mine hadn't been. Small, intimate, honest. 40 people in a chapel overlooking a vineyard. Beth in a simple cream dress, Scott in a navy suit. Both of them glowing with hard-won happiness. I stood beside William at the altar, watching Scott recite vows he'd written himself. I promised to show up, every single day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. I promised to choose you, choose us, choose the life we're building together. The words hit differently when you'd watch someone fail at those promises, then fight like hell to become someone who could keep them. At the reception, Scott pulled me aside. Thank you for being here, for standing up there. I know it's complicated. It's not complicated, I said honestly. You're a good man now. That's what matters. I wasn't always. You filled in the gaps I left. Raised my kids when I couldn't. His voice got thick. I'll never stop being grateful for that. We stood there, 2 men who loved the same children, who'd both been married to the same woman, who'd found unexpected brotherhood in the wreckage. They're great kids, I said. Easy to love. Later, dancing with Amanda who'd come as my date, I caught William watching us from across the room. He smiled, gave me a thumbs up. Hannah was beside him, laughing at something Beth's niece had said. They looked happy. That was enough. You thinking about your own wedding? Amanda teased. Divorce isn't even final yet. One step at a time. Fair enough. She rested her head on my shoulder. But when you're ready, I'm not going anywhere. 3 weeks later, the final divorce hearing happened with minimal drama. Allison didn't contest the terms. Judge Whitmore signed the papers, and, just like that, 8 years dissolved into legal documents. Walking out of the courthouse, I checked my phone. Email from the adoption agency in Texas. Subject: application reinstated. My hand shook opening it. With the divorce finalized and proof of stable income and housing, my application for Mia had been moved back to active status. Estimated timeline: 3 to 4 months. I sat in my car and cried. Not from sadness, but relief. Mia would have her family after all. December came with cold rain and the busiest season at Pinehurst Ridge. I moved into a house in October, 3 bedrooms, small yard, room for everyone. Hannah had her own space, decorated exactly how she wanted. The 3rd bedroom sat waiting, painted yellow, stuffed animals lined up on shelves. Mia arrived on a Tuesday. The social worker brought her to the house at 3 o'clock. This tiny 8-year-old with dark braids and enormous eyes clutching a worn teddy bear. She looked terrified. Hi, Mia, I said, crouching down to her level. I'm Malcolm. I've been writing to you. She nodded, didn't speak. This is your sister Hannah, I continued. Hannah waved, smiling gently. And this is Amanda. She's been helping me get your room ready. Want to see it? Hannah asked. Mia nodded again. Hannah took her hand, led her inside. I watched them disappear down the hallway. Heard Hannah's excited voice explaining where everything was. Amanda squeezed my shoulder. You did it. We did it. The social worker handed me paperwork, explained the trial placement period, scheduled follow-up visits. I barely heard her, too focused on the sound of Mia's small voice finally speaking, asking Hannah about the stuffed elephant on the bed. That night, after Mia was asleep in her new room, I sat on the back porch with Amanda. She'd been around more and more over the past months, carefully building relationships with Hannah and now Mia. Nothing rushed, nothing forced, just steady presence. Think she'll adjust okay? Amanda asked. She will. Kids are resilient. I took her hand. Thank you for being here. For all of this. Where else would I be? A car pulled up front. William, home from college for winter break. He came around back, grinned when he saw us. She here. Asleep upstairs. Yellow room. Can I peek in? Go ahead. Quietly. He went inside. I heard his footsteps on the stairs, the soft creak of Mia's door opening, closing. When he came back out, his eyes were wet. She looked so small in that big bed. She'll grow into it. William sat on the porch steps, looked out at the yard. You know, when Mom destroyed everything, I thought our family was over. But we're not over. We're just different. Better, maybe. Definitely better. Hannah called from the doorway. She'd been listening. We chose each other. That counts more than biology. She was right. This family, built from broken pieces and second chances, held together by choice and commitment, was stronger than anything biology could create. My phone buzzed. Email from Allison. I hadn't heard from her in months, not since the divorce finalized. Subject: I'm sorry. I opened it. Malcolm, I know I have no right to contact you, but I needed to say this. I'm sorry. Not for getting caught, not for losing everything, but for throwing away someone who truly loved me. You deserved better than what I gave you. The kids deserve better. I hope you're happy. I hope you found peace. You earned it. Allison. I read it twice, then looked up at the people on my porch. William, Hannah, Amanda, Mia sleeping upstairs. This was my family now. This was peace. I typed back, I forgive you. Be well. Then I put the phone away and went back to living.